If you have your cell phone on and you don't need it, please turn it off. It can interrupt with the OPTV signal. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting of Tuesday, April 14th, 2026 of the Oradell Mayor and Council to order. Notice of this meeting was published in the official newspapers and prominently posted in Borough Hall and filed with the municipal clerk in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Our fire official, Mr. Petrunzio, can you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, new face. I had to pick on you.
He's in front row.
Yeah, front row, too. Laura, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Koth.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Tashtian.
Here.
Mr. Kern.
Here.
Mr. Gullo.
Here.
Ms. Hara.
Here.
Mr. Banfield is not here this evening.
Thank you. I'm going to go down the podium for a minute and make a presentation recognizing Childhood Abuse Prevention Month. And I'm going to present this proclamation as we do annually to the representatives of the Oradell Book and Needle Club. Don't run away, Beth. This is for you. Is this on? Sam, you think this is on? It should be on, yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so as I normally do, I'm just going to read this, so bear with me. I'll try and be quick. Whereas children are our nation's most vulnerable members and our nation's most valuable resources, helping to shape the future of New Jersey. And whereas positive childhood experiences like loving caregivers and safe, stable, and nurturing relationships can help mitigate trauma and the negative impact of adverse childhood experiences to promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. And whereas childhood trauma can have long-term and long-lasting psychological, emotional, and physical effects throughout an individual's lifetime and impact future generations of their family. And whereas childhood trauma, including abuse and neglect, is a serious problem affecting every community in the United States, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas children who live in families with access to concrete economic and social supports are less likely to experience abuse and neglect, and whereas prevention is possible because of the partnerships created between Prevent Child Abuse New Jersey, families, prevention advocates, child welfare professionals, education, health, community, faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, service organizations, including the New Jersey State Federation of Women's Clubs, and local, state, and national governments. And whereas we acknowledge that to solve the public health issue of abuse and neglect, we must work together to change hearts and mindsets through storytelling and sharing, center the needs of families, reduce barriers, and inspire action from partners in prevention. And whereas we are committed to advancing responsive and effective systems that ensure all children and families are healthy and thriving, and whereas we recognize the need to prioritize kids and invest in more prevention initiatives like home visiting and family strengthening policies, economic supports, and community-based child abuse prevention programs at the local, state, and national levels. Now, therefore, I, James Koth, Mayor of the Borough of Oradell, do hereby proclaim April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in the Borough of Oradell, New Jersey, and urge all citizens to recognize this month by building a narrative of hope for children and families through collaboration and the creation of an ecosystem of primary prevention. Ladies? Care to say anything?
Okay. On behalf of the Book and Needle Women's Club of
Pull the
Oradell.
microphone down and put it in front of your face. We'll hear you.
Is that better?
Great.
Okay. On behalf of the Book and Needle Women's Club of Oradell, I'd like to thank the Mayor and Council for recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. The Book and Needle Club of Oradell is a strong advocate for the protection of children's rights and has been since our inception in 1915. We're a group of active and dedicated women from multiple towns in Bergen County who serve many segments of our community, including veterans, homeless, women who are victims of domestic violence, and several local food pantries. We welcome new members at any time, and we can be contacted through our Facebook page or our website, oradellbookandneedle.org. And if you haven't been to the library recently, please go by and take a look at the pinwheel garden in front of the library that we planted earlier this month to recognize Child Abuse Prevention Month. And the pinwheel represents a happy childhood that we wish for all children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is 2 items for discussion. The first one I'll take. So our DPW, as our superintendent who's in the audience very well knows, becomes waterfront property at times, increasing or maybe decreasing its value. And our insurance that we've been retaining for our flood policy, because we're a repetitive loss claimee, is now through FEMA, and the annual premium is surpassed $20,000 a year for flood insurance for that site. So I want to have a quick discussion at the council. My role as the insurance commissioner and talking about it with the finance committee and our CFO and our administrator, we think that it may be a more prudent track to try to self-insure ourselves in this regard. Instead of turning over a $20,000 check to FEMA annually, our last claim was maybe about 12 years ago. Dan, is that about right? 10, 12 years? So that's about $240,000 that could have been sitting in a trust account for the purpose of repairing or replacing. Auto equipment and other things are covered under a whole separate policy. This is really just about the facility and its contents that are not covered under the auto and equipment policy. So at the very least, we will grow in an interest-bearing trust account the contributions that we would normally make to FEMA, except instead of losing that money every year to pay the premium, we're going to compound that money and basically pay cash out of pocket if and when the next time occurs that we incur a loss there. So we just wanted to put that out for the council for any discussion or comments or thoughts before we take action to cancel that policy and move in this direction.
Well, I just have a question about any particular startup costs that would be involved in getting a trust account and starting to self-insure.
We just need to do a dedication by rider account. I think that our CFO was looking into that, and it's administrative steps that are required, that's all.
Okay.
No cost.
And Jim, when was the last claim?
10 or 12 years ago?
Okay.
So I would think that technology, et cetera, the kind of predicting weather has gotten pretty good. Is that, and we have the ability, I think we've done it in the past, to get our vehicles out of there, anything in preparation, right? I'm assuming that that's the key thing there. If there's a storm coming in, I think if they bring everything up to the swim club lot or wherever it goes, that I'm assuming that technology, and that's what our OEM, et cetera, once that happens, that's improved, and that'll help this cause here, right? If you can speak to that?
That covers the equipment and the vehicles, which are fully covered under a separate policy. Flood just covers the building
Okay.
and the furnishings, the fixtures, the equipment, whether it's a boiler, electrical infrastructure, gutting and remediating mold and mildew and other things that
That's
are a
what the
result of
policy
flooding.
covers,
That's
yeah.
what this policy is
Okay.
for. So unfortunately, we can't move the DPW. That would
Right.
solve all our problems.
Okay.
But I think this is a prudent move to help deal with this, and perhaps at times have some more money in the bank than we need. But we do run a risk the first couple of years of the potential of having an emergency without adequate reserves to fund it.
Yeah.
So we can talk about how we do that, whether we give it a boost up front or we just continue to divert that premium we normally give to FEMA into this account. It's not like we're getting rid of the
Right.
expense.
Yeah.
We're just diverting it and holding it ourselves and investing it so that it can help us earn some income
Okay.
to put towards that.
I have 2 questions, Mayor. Sorry, I have two questions. One, what is the amount of the payment to FEMA annually?
$20,000.
20,000. I missed that. Okay. And if we do that, does that in any way take us out of the possibility of FEMA help? Should there be a severe
No,
flooding?
this is not disaster or mitigation assistance. This is a total flood insurance policy premium.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I have a question.
Yes.
When we write the trust fund, can we just add some phraseology in there that allows us to do renovations if we feel using that fund as opposed, because there could be an opportunity to move an office upstairs, which takes it out of flood if there's enough money in there. So just to give us a little flexibility.
Yeah, I think we can talk about what we want the money to be able to be used for as part of setting up the account.
Great.
Okay, everybody seems to be in agreement with the moving in that direction?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, tree at Hague Park. Mr. Hines, is this yours to address?
Yes.
Mayor and Council, I received a phone call from a resident who said he wanted to alert the town there were multiple branches dropping from that tree. It's a very majestic looking tree. So the Department of Public Works has already noted that that tree was in serious decline. However, if you see a photo of that tree, it just dominates the landscape, and it's almost like did George Washington have a meeting under that tree. What we did, we asked our arborist to give us a report, and to double down on that, given the size of this tree, we asked an outside tree expert to give us a second report. So the DPW, our town arborist, and the outside tree expert all came in. The tree, unfortunately, must be taken down. And I actually had that report sent, both reports, to the mayor and council. So it's now on the list to be taken down.
You want to have any questions or?
Ed, do they know how old the tree is?
It's in the, I think it's in the arborist report, actually.
I didn't see it. I was looking through it. There was a lot of conditions that led it to its decline, so certainly support it. And do we have an estimate of the cost to take it down?
Not yet, but it's a big tree.
Okay.
But it's on the list, and because it is dropping branches and because it is in a park, the Department of Public Works is putting a high priority to get that tree down.
Okay, I'd like to know what the cost is going to be before we take it down or do a final order on it.
Okay.
But I guess more in lieu of.
I would say this. It's fair to get the cost.
I get it.
We're on notice. We have no immunity if something happens.
No,
with that
understood. I just want to know from a cost perspective, we have to take it down.
Right.
I agree. And then the second thing is what are we doing now that there is that open spot? Because there's a park and there's some other things there. I mean, I know we're not going to do something immediately, but has there been thought as to what we might do longer term?
No, but to get to that size will take about 100 years. That's the problem.
No, I'm not saying
In the
we-
report, it actually said we have to do a good job removing the roots and the stump.
Right.
Because there's a fungus in there, and likely anything that would be planted there will not grow. So we have a fundamental issue going on there.
So it's safe to say we'd have to wait a year before doing anything from an environmental standpoint.
If not longer.
Okay.
Yeah, they advise us not to put another tree in the same spot, but what I'm wondering is, excuse me, where I come from, they had once done a treatment of a massive tree like this, putting cement on the inside that held the structure of the tree together, but I don't know with this fungus if that makes any sense or would remedy in any way.
Well, but the most complete report, or I'd like to say autopsy, was from our own arborist. This tree can't be saved in any which way. This tree is doomed. It's beyond repair or salvation.
Right, so we normally don't talk about trees that get cut down at our level. That's too in the weeds for us, but the significance and the age of this tree and its stature on the site, I felt necessitated a discussion amongst us. So to be clear, the administrator will get whatever the council has asked for in terms of backup or a follow-up treatment plan afterwards if we want to plan for how to replace that tree and what we have to do to treat the remaining roots that we don't get or what further removal is required. But now that we're on notice, any delay in taking this down, if a limb were to fall off the tree and hit somebody in the head, we have zero immunity from JIF. We are aware of this.
That makes sense to me. It's a sad situation. I don't know if you know that tree. It's quite beautiful.
Right. So I just want to make that clear that it's something that we don't have the luxury of time to act on.
So just it reminds me, this playground behind the building here at Memorial, I was involved with that tree. If anybody remembers that tree, there is similar, not as big and majestic, but I was on a rec committee and the Oradell Kids Foundation committee, and that tree, when we were redoing the playground, we were told it had to come down, and that was crushing, and you could not tell that it was sick, but someone looked at it, and that came down, and it caused quite a firestorm and emotions. But I'll never forget when it was cut down, the tree was 90% mush. So it was, to the mayor's point, a liability. So these guys know what they're doing, and so thank God that came down before the major limbs. So yeah, I mean, it's professionals, to the mayor's point. They can go with that. Nobody wants to take them down.
Okay. Anything further on the tree? If not, we will move into old business. Any old business to come before the council?
Do we have to vote on this then, or are we still studying?
No.
No vote.
Scheduled for removal.
Okay.
Old business, Mayor, the planning board met last week, and over, the recent applications, a number of discussions have come up about having, and a couple of residents are here, requiring our businesses to have windows in the storefronts, and the application that was okay without windows. And I think the planning board, I don't want to speak to them, but was in favor basically of potentially, and now that we've extended our business district down to the southern end of town, to putting that ordinance in potentially in the future, or recommend to our ordinance committee to do that, which I think in general makes some sense. I did have the opportunity to speak to the business owner who, if you recall that application, I was just amazed that everyone in that neighborhood, even though he applied to put up a new building, his design, they may not have been happy about the design or the parking, et cetera, but they all quoted and mentioned how wonderful and friendly and of a person he was and a businessman. And so I mentioned that to him, and I said, listen, it'd be great if there's any way you can change your design to put some windows in there. And this is just within the last day or two. And he said, we are going to do that. So that's a good situation there. And but potentially, I think it makes some sense for our ordinance or this body to discuss having, if we're going to extend the central business district throughout the corridor, to have that discussion. Does it make sense to require that the storefronts have, rather than just the straight brick facade there? So this guy, again, I said, hey, some folks, and it could make some sense to have some windows like we have right across the street here. And he was amenable to, couldn't be a nicer guy. So we support our local businesses. But to me, unless I hear something different, it makes some sense potentially that we add that.
So the planning board should send correspondence to the council asking us to look at that and including their recommendations with their rationale so that the ordinance committee can evaluate that request.
Will do. Thanks.
Anything else under old business?
One other item, Mayor, and if you can comment, we discussed at our last meeting potentially moving these meeting times to 7 p.m. And I know we had discussions, but you wanted to comment on that. It probably makes some sense.
Yeah, I spoke with the member of the board that wished to move it earlier and explained that we would have to amend the administrative code. It would move our closed sessions most likely to the back end of the meeting, which was not ideal. While we don't have people currently commuting 5 days a week from New York City, that may change year to year. And the administrative code is our set of rules that we follow, right, in terms of how we operate. So there was agreement amongst us that it was perhaps just best off to leave it as it was for now.
Good.
And if there's a reason to revisit it in the future, we could do that.
You got it.
I would second that. I mean, the idea that most of our meetings are at 7:30, the consistency, I think, helps people, because then you remember, when's the meeting? Oh, yeah, 7:30, instead of having one that's not. So I support that idea.
Thanks.
Anyone have new business?
Mayor, did you see the email that came through today around 3:30?
Yep, I was going
I
to
didn't
go
know.
through that, but if anybody else has any new business they want to discuss before I do that. Okay, hearing none. So we got an email request from Bergen County Players late today. They have their, I guess it's their new show coming up, The 39 Steps. It's a mystery production. On April 29th, 30th, and May 1st, the Players would like to host a scavenger hunt within the town. The theater would put out 39 small placards on stakes in public areas such as parks, the library, and other places that we would agree with them. And folks would take photographs of themselves with those different kind of things they're looking for. They would be entered into a drawing for free tickets. And after the show opened on May 2nd, the theater would then remove all the placards so that the scavenger hunt was over. But they would look to award, I believe it's a set of free tickets to whomever won the scavenger hunt, if I'm reading that right. Yep. So the ask is a little loose, and in the near future, does anybody have an issue with delegating the administrator to work with the leadership at the Players to make sure that happens in a way that's acceptable to the borough?
Yeah, no issue, Mayor. I guess I'd just like to know where the locations are from a public safety standpoint.
Well, parks, the library, and other
I understand
public
that, but there's
properties.
like a map. I'd like to know the specific locations.
Well, that's what we
Right.
delegate to the administrator.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah. Sounds
Okay.
wonderful.
I don't think we need to vote on this. It's okay.
Cool idea.
Any other new business?
Thank you.
Great. Laura, can you read the correspondence into the record, please?
There's a letter of appreciation to the fire department for a recent response call.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. Each speaker shall have one turn and not exceed 5 minutes. Please identify yourself at the microphone and remain courteous. I'll entertain a motion to open the floor for non-agenda items.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I feel a little awkward doing this before the borough budget is presented, but since we asked for the state mandated minimum, I guess we're pretty certain what our,
Jim, can you just introduce yourself?
oh, Jim Lesterson.
Thank you.
We are pretty, we'll assume that that's the number that's in there. And just because we only asked for the state mandated minimum doesn't mean that there are things that you don't need to know from us. And since there was no budget hearing this year, we decided that in the interests of full disclosure and transparency, we would come and talk a little bit about the library budget.
So can I just interject for 1 second? I want to correct your no budget hearing. That's not factual. We're having budget hearings over the next 3 meetings where the process was changed this year in that instead of having the full council as a finance committee, we appointed 3 members to the finance committee. The administrator, the CFO met with each of the department heads, which I believe the library was present at those meetings at their prescribed time, and presented their asks. That then went to the finance committee for review. Out of the finance committee came a recommended budget, which is being introduced tonight, which over the course of tonight and the next two meetings, there'll be a lot of dialogue over what's in the budget, why do we need this, why don't we have that. There may be questions of the different departments, which is why all the department heads are here tonight. And that's going to happen over the next three meetings, and we're going to look to adopt by the end of May.
May I ask when the library meeting was?
When did you meet with the library?
When
Probably before 2026, right?
Yeah, I think it was at the end of 2025.
And who was there?
You were there, and the treasurer Anne was there, and was with me and the borough administrator.
We had one meeting to discuss the issue of health insurance. That was not a budget presentation.
But at that meeting, it was everybody was on the understanding of that was going to be the mandated a third of a mil. The library was going to request a third of a mil. There was going to be no additional budget requests.
There was no understanding of that. We were meeting on the health insurance, and that was the only thing we discussed. We said in all likelihood we would only ask for a third of a mil. I hope this isn't using up my 5 minutes.
Well, we're not doing budget presentations under public comment. That much I can tell you. If that's what your intent is, then we need to talk about it.
No, my intent is to inform the board, the council, of things they need to know about what the library is doing if they're going to be the stewards of the overall borough budget. There's nothing there that goes beyond that. But we did not have a budget discussion, period. We requested multiple times a date for a budget discussion, and we were told, not yet, not yet, not yet. And as far as we know, all the inquiries we made, John Trouse made inquiries, Maggie made inquiries, were never answered with a date or anything more than we'll get back to you. So we're taking it upon ourselves to get back to you.
So is the amount the library is asking for what's in our budget that we're proposing?
The amount that the library is asking for, $881,471, is, Maggie just confirmed, the amount that's in the budget.
Okay.
We did not ask for more because we felt that given all the other pressures on the town, we weren't likely to get more, but we did know we needed to spend more. So what we did was we budgeted an expense budget of $943,000, which means because we have a little bit of other revenue from other sources, we'll be running a $37,000 deficit at the library this year. And we thought it was important for you to know that. We have reserves of roughly $335,000 coming into the year. So we're spending a little more than 10% of our reserves to give the town the full service that they expect and deserve from the library. So that was one thing that was important. You may remember that we did the same thing last year. We budgeted a loss of about $31,000. So even though we got a big increase this year, because the real estate values have been going up, that only goes into our appropriation minimum at a 3-year rolling average, so the full benefit of that hasn't been realized yet. We just got the numbers for the 2025 real estate, and we estimate now, and this is also something that I think is helpful for you to know, that our appropriation will go up next year by $50,000 or 5.7%. to $931,000. So because of the increase in real estate values and the 3-year rolling average, the amount that is minimally required, we still don't think that's going to be quite enough to make the budget balance. In the next year, which will be based on the 3-year rolling average ending this year, if valuations in 2026 are equal to 2025, we estimate that that will go up with a minimum funding another 3.6% to $965,000. At that point, we're hoping that if we can hold expense increases to 3% this next year and 3% the year after, that we would, at that minimum, be balanced. However, if we get health increases continuing to go up the way they've been going up and other things, we are going to be in a bind eventually because the reserves will dwindle. And if we have to keep going into our reserves, rather than doing that, we will begin to ask for the council again to appropriate money above and beyond the state mandated minimum. And that's what I thought it was important for you to know.
Okay. If you have a presentation that you would like us to have a more thorough discussion with you on, we could probably schedule that for the next or the meeting after that to just talk about a little bit more of the strategy that you described, because while the value of our real estate's going up, we adjust the tax rate to be equivalent with what we need for the budget. And I can tell you this, if we just spend what the law requires us to get and say we're still going to be above that, none of us are going to be able to afford to live in this town. The school taxes are going up. We're killing ourselves to try and hover around 2%, where 2 years ago we went up 8%. Can't do it. It's not sustainable. And I'm not saying that you guys are out spending lavishly and doing all these things. Health benefits is a huge killer, right? 39% last year, but we thought out of the box and went and instituted an HSA plan, which allowed us to save a ton of money and our employees to save a ton of money. But they're going to come back and wallop us again this year with another increase. So at some point, we know all the services we want to provide. We might not be able to fund what we want to do, which means we then have to make hard decisions.
I realize that, but I want to have discussions
Absolutely.
About those decisions. And as I said, if that meeting to discuss specifically the issue of health benefits was considered a budget meeting, then
I can't speak.
Very disappointed.
I have to rely on the CFO and the administrator. I'll have a follow-up about that. But I wasn't present at it, so I can't tell you because I don't have any first-hand knowledge of it. But I will have a discussion about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheila Sterling, 287 Merritt Drive. I am the president of the Board of Trustees of the Oradell Public Library. So you just heard from Jim, our first vice president, about our finances. We know the borough is under pressure, and that is why we did not request over the statutory requirement. But I do think it is important to take a couple of minutes to tell you all the wonderful things that have been going on in the library, what we're doing with the money, so that you know the value that the town is receiving. So, good evening, Mayor Koth, council members, and members of the public. The library is the heart of the community. It serves residents of all ages. The Oradell Public Library's mission is to provide free access for its community's informational, educational, and recreational needs and interests. The library also serves to ensure the preservation and transmission of Oradell's history. The library has been very busy doing all this in spite of a shortfall in funding, which necessitated going into our reserves last year and again this year. Here are just some of the exciting things going on in the library in the past year. The library launched a new website, which has more information and is much easier to navigate. During the past year, new visitors to the library's website increased by 60%. In addition to searching the catalog, the website allows our patrons to register for our upcoming adults and children's events and sign up for our adult or children's emails and learn about our exciting programs. From our website, you can borrow a book, ebook, or audiobook. You can access Mango to learn a language. You can access Hoopla and Canopy to stream a movie or documentary. You can also access a database such as Ancestry.com or Consumer Reports or print a document, as we now have mobile printing. Oradell Public Library now has Museum Key, which enables patrons to reserve our museum passes online directly on our website, resulting in an increased usage of our passes of 500% year over year. Oradell's Local History Room, which is housed in the library's lower level, offers a wide range of materials highlighting Oradell's rich past, including photographs, documents, books, maps, art, artifacts, yearbooks, and other materials. The work of maintaining the town's history archives was previously done by a volunteer, George Carter, who worked tirelessly on the archives. In the last few years, it became clear that we had to hire an archivist to maintain and update the archives, or the town's history would no longer be preserved. Our recently hired part-time archivist, Marissa Shary, is working on cleaning up the archives to make the information more accessible. In January, she mounted a display highlighting historic local businesses in Oradell. She is working with an online content management system that will soon make our archives digitally available to the public. Our local history archives is a valuable town asset, and as such, I would ask that the mayor and council consider assisting us financially by helping us fund this service in the future. I'm happy to report that circulation has increased on all platforms. 2025 saw a 21% increase in circulation of adult print materials and a 38% increase in juvenile and young adult materials. About 20% of our total circulation was adult digital titles. Another 30% was adult print, and the remaining 50% was the circulation of juvenile and adult and young adult materials. In addition to our regular programs, the 2 adult book clubs, film club and cookbook club, and special lectures and concerts, the library has added a variety of new programming this year for both adults and children, which have been very well attended. These include the very popular adult craft classes, monthly history lecture and discussion group, monthly movie matinee. Due to popular demand, we have added another cookbook club, Night Bites. Our other new programs include puzzle race, musical bingo, and family game nights, which have all attracted new crowds and requests for the programs to be held again. Our regular children's programming includes our weekly yoga story time, bring your own baby Pilates, and story and craft times. This year's Maker's Day theme was Sounds Abound. Kids and adults explored the science of sounds with hands-on science experiments. Maker's Day is also an opportunity for our Riverdale High School students to get involved and demonstrate their knowledge. 625 people attended Maker's Day this year. This year, we kicked off the event with a Lego competition for ages 4 to 7. These are just some of the activities at the library. The Friends of the Oradell Library funds our special programs and our Museum Pass program. Currently, the Friends is in the midst of its annual membership campaign. Your annual contribution directly supports the experiences that bring neighbors together, spark curiosity, and make the library the heart of the community. So please donate to the Friends. Donations are now accepted online on our website, making contributing easier than ever. If you have time, please consider volunteering your time and talent. If you have suggestions, please put them in our suggestion box at the circulation desk. The library staff is hard at work providing the resources, services, and programs that our patrons enjoy. As I said before, in order to provide this level of service, which our residents so greatly value, we have been dipping into our reserve funds over the past 2 years. Although we are not asking for additional funding from the mayor and council this year, I'm sure that you understand that this situation cannot continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Paul Atsunas from beautiful, blossoming Beverly Road. I have a few things I need to talk to you tonight, and I forgot my glasses again. One is about the concrete replacement that the contractor was supposed to do on Prospect Avenue. When is that going to be done? I haven't heard anything about it, and he's liable to do that, I understand. That the sidewalk was pitted and everything. That's one question. And then on the southern end of town on Kinderkamek Road, there are light posts that have been have not been replaced. There was an accident there last year, and I'm sure he received the money from the insurance company. So I want to know what's up with it. I know we wanted to get some new type of lampposts, but it's been quite a while, you know, and I'm wondering when it's going to be done. Also, 2 tree planting areas on the front of Century 21 and another in front of the liquor store need to be filled. There were trees there and they're not there anymore. The other thing is the 25-mile-per-hour speed reduction for the B1 zone must be applied for to the county, since it will have about a year to get it through the county, so we should take action now. Little leaguers and school children are crossing at Argyle and Kinderkamek Road on that corner. Now, the taller another thing that I talked about with the planning board, and I said that the taller the buildings that are going to be constructed, the larger the buffer between commercial and single-family homes should be. So I know we wanted the 15-foot buffer zone between single families and commercial, but if it's a taller building, and if they're going to go more stories, it should be much larger, maybe 25. The other thing is on the water company, on Viola, the PFEs and plastics, they can't remove them. They're not removing them. And that's a problem for the whole state. And we should be finding out from our representatives what they're going to do. And hopefully they will come here and speak to us about that also. So that's basically it for tonight right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Good evening, Council. Ori Katzen from the green and blossoming Laurel Drive and pothole-ridden Laurel Drive. And if someone here from the DPW, I dare you to drive around Laurel Drive, 5 to 8 inch deep potholes. Okay. I would like to commend the 2 ladies that were here earlier, and with the initiative of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Thank you, Mayor, for the proclamation. But I think what is missing from that is specific of what exactly child abuse. And those who come here often and hear me speak know about the sugar issue and the sugar in children. And I am telling you that parents who are feeding their kids with sugar is a form of physical child abuse. And I'm calling the mayor to specify exactly what child abuse is so we can actually prevent those things. And if we can prevent a few grams of sugar, that will be great. Latest results from the United States is a person consumes about 82 pounds of sugar per year. 82 pounds. Sugar is the number one troublemaker that causes anywhere from hormonal disruption and all the way to Alzheimer and dementia. So you should add that thing into. Second thing I would like to commend you, Mayor, is about the decision to privatize the insurance. Finally, I see this town acts like a business. As a business owner for 35, 36 years, there are some items on my insurance that I self-insure myself. Those things that I see that I'm not in any immediate risk of a claim, I rather put the money into my own budget, into savings, and use it whenever I need. And so far it's been proven to work for me. Another thing about insurance, as you know, they only care about profit. When finally you have a claim, they all come in and try to cut down on the money that they're going to pay. I would like to just announce that in 7 weeks I will be again climbing, running the stairs of the Freedom Tower in New York City at the annual Tunnel to Towers tower climb in New York City, something I've been doing every year. And again, as I've done in the past 3 years, having the name of Sergeant David Salinas on the back of my shirt, the front and the back. And that brings me to the next subject about the proposed resolution, which I've been pushing for the past 2 years, on the honorary street signs, that hopefully that resolution and the ordinance with it is coming up soon, and we can have a way of honoring Sergeant Salinas. You were not in the last meeting, Mayor. Tom did an excellent job running the meeting, but I did not hear anything about the progress on that. And Maggie was kind enough to make a comments about this, and this was very nice. And we should have an ordinance that we will be able to honor people from the town, and especially Sergeant Salinas, which 2 weeks ago was the 3rd anniversary of his tragic passing. And the last thing I want to talk about is the Narcan boxes that are installed in town, that for the past year I've been pushing to remove those. I think that they should be moved from the public areas, wherever they are, into possibly the police department or the fire department. Narcan is not something that you want people with no experience to administer. It could actually cause more harm than good. But the idea of putting Narcan boxes to deal with the opioid issues at Riverdale High School is, the idea is wrong. It's like the same as the genius who said that if we build throughout the city or throughout New Jersey homeless shelter, we will get rid of the homeless issues. That's actually the opposite way. You build more homeless shelter, you make the problem worse, and you suck more money out of the budget of the state for the homeless issue, which becomes more and more severe. So I think the Narcan boxes, as I said before, they should, if you want to put them in a public place, do a program to educate our kids about the danger of opioids in general, or move them into fire department or police department. If someone needs, at least they can get the help of professionals. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sam Tripsis, 327 Maple Avenue. I just want to announce, last week I did a PowerPoint presentation at the Senior Center for our historic pictures from the archives, and it was pretty informative. I think it was successful, and I'd like to do it again, bring in the history to the people. And then after the meeting, we installed another 20 pictures up there on the walls. The only reason I've been able to do this, I would say there's several hundred pictures spread around town now, 8x10s, is because George Carter, the late George Carter, our archivist and historian, digitized everything. And if he didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. I'm actually getting the pictures through the archives and printing them out. And I've done several, I would say several thousand so far. Also, would like to continue doing that. I'd like to do another presentation. I'm seeing there's such a good response from the people. Even if people aren't really interested in historic structures and people, you bring it to them and suddenly you got a conversation. And not only are we putting them in the businesses and in the town hall and the senior center, but we also brought them up to the high school, showing the high school under construction. And pictures are now up at the Hackensack Golf Club, showing Wally Shiraz's visit on October 1962, and after the parade. So it's been an enjoyable project, but I have to I just feel I have to credit George Carter for doing what he did in the past. So thank you very much. Also, I've had help from OPTV with framing and organizing these pictures, so I just want to give them credit too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. John Kelleny, Oradell Ave. I've been trying to get down here for the last few months or so I'll try to make it quick, but I do have a few things that I'd like to discuss. By way of background, I've been in town 50 years, 25 as a homeowner, so I'm quintessential Oradellian that was raised here and then stayed to raise the kids because I truly love the town. And I think three things make this town spectacular. It's the police department over the last 5 decades that I've witnessed. It's the fire department. It's the DPW and the job they do, and it's the ordinances that we have. And that's what I'd like to discuss tonight. But going back to Oradell, fire department, police department, DPW, strong budgets help a good town. The ordinances, Mayor, I think you've done a great job in transparency, and I understand why you don't reply to people at the podium, but I do think there's some feedback that should be given later out in date because there's interesting things that are brought up, and that I never see the loop closed, so if you could just think about that, that would be great, but I totally understand why you don't reply tonight. The ordinances keep this town tight. It's clean, it's well kept. We have property maintenance ordinances on the books. But lately, there's been 3 or 4 ordinances that have just spiraled out of control and that are completely ignored. One is overnight parking. The second is commercial vehicles parked overnight. And the third, where are my glasses? RVs, campers, covered cars, unregistered vehicles. I mean, it's just, they're not enforced. And I understand that, there's process that has to be followed and the police have other things to do. But I would urge the council to take a look because I hear this with people I talk in town all the time, right? They don't want to bring it up because their neighbors might have a situation going on. But it really has become a blight on many, many streets and many, many driveways. So I'd ask you to take a look at that. Another issue to me is parks and recreation. There's 3 things that I would ask you to consider. Number 1, the garbage can near the World War Memorial, that should just be moved. Sometimes there's trash that's left on the ground and not put in the receptacle, and it just should be moved 20 feet away from that, in my opinion. Also, we rent out DPAC for $100 an hour. There's a group that goes down there Sunday. They stay for 3 hours. They urinate in the woods. They smoke on the field. They bring gas generators, heated tents. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but if we need that money to fill budget gaps, I would suggest we look elsewhere or enforce the rules and make them pay more. Lastly, two more things. I know we don't have a dog run people treat Memorial Field like it is a dog run. You're approached by dogs if you happen to be walking through the woods. If I wanted a pet, I would get one. That really needs to be reined in. I mean, there's a leash law for a reason, and I would ask that be emphasized and enforced. And while not a popular item, two last things. School funding. I know we took a hard run at this in years past to fight the inequality that we have with River Edge funding versus Oradell funding. I would ask that we take another look at it. I know it based on housing costs. Their pricing of housing is pretty astronomical versus ours, and I would like you to take another look at that. I think you did a great job in engaging council to fight or to work through the fair housing, and I think it would be worthwhile to get that. And then it's on my note, so I will say it, but library funding was on it as well and not in favor of it. I think that it's a great expense. I think it needs to change with the times. And if you looked at shared services, that would be one area that I would say let's reevaluate how we even fund that or why it's in existence into hard printed books. I know it's not a popular opinion, but as a taxpayer, it's one that I'd like to express. So thank you for your time and your volunteerism.
Thank you.
Hi, John Sterling, 287 Merritt Drive. I just want to thank Sam Trispis and the library. I'm proud to be on Sam's mailing list for all the wonderful photos of history of Oradell, which I hope parents share with their students so that the kids get the same appreciation of the town that we adults have and the town we love. I teach the history course. I volunteer at the library, and I have to say this is local history. And even though I may know European and American history and Far Eastern history and have taught it, I don't know much about our local history as Sam does, and I really appreciate what the library has done and what Sam has done, and the library is a great resource in this town, and keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Motion to close non-agenda items.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Entertain a motion to open to the public for consent agenda item only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now open for consent agenda items.
Well, as soon as I just have two items. 2691, the park improvements, is that only for the lighting there? 2691?
Yeah.
That's only lighting? Nothing else? Wow.
For the public here, yeah.
That's
Yes.
a lot of money for just lighting. Okay, 2696. Well, it says a miscellaneous concrete work. Is that the Prospect Park that I'm talking about?
Concrete
sidewalk?
pads for new dugout structures that are being installed
Oh.
at each of the fields.
Okay. But I haven't heard anything about that sidewalk, so.
We'll make sure Mr. Atkinson has an update at the next meeting for that.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for agenda items only?
Consent.
Yes.
Sam Tripsis, 327 Maple Avenue. I'm pleased to hear that you're keeping the meetings at 7:30, mayor and council meetings. Whether you're working or retired, it's a chore to have to think about different times for different meetings, being all the committees and all the boards are 7:30, no matter where you go. Secondly, I'm also pleased to hear that there could be an ordinance for windows on storefronts. And I'm pleased, again, that the store owner has agreed to change the plans. I think that was a positive thing. He's a good businessman. He's good service, and I think that it's a win-win for everyone. So, once again, very positive. Thank you.
Sam, just going forward, this was the consent agenda item portion of the public meeting, not the non-agenda item.
This is agenda because you discussed it.
No, it's not. It's
You
not on
didn't-
the consent agenda.
Okay, how do you handle that then?
If you would
if
have
brought
spoken
up.
about it under the non-consent agenda items.
Because I purposely waited for this piece because I thought Tom Kelly brought it up. And
When you were up the last time, would have been a good time
Well,
to speak about it.
lesson learned. I
Going forward.
I mixed that up. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sam.
Okay.
Anyone else for consent agenda items?
Ori Katzen, on the beautiful Laurel Drive. I see in the consent agenda the appointment of the installation of 3 firefighters. And I would like just to say that, same like my comments, I believe, 6 weeks ago, right after that terrible fire that we had during the 1 degree that we had in, believe it was February 7th, between the 7th and the 8th. I wish the new firefighters all the best. And I would like to say that after seeing what they were doing and after knowing what they were battling and speaking to the mayor about all the freezing issues and the time delay and the ability to work under such extreme condition, I think that if these guys were chosen to be firefighters in this town, I'm sure they're ready for any task that they will be called upon. And with that, I will comment that what some of the schools in the area are doing when they're given too many snow days, and some of them doing off on cold days if the temperature comes down before, it's not a really a good way to bring up future generation of police officers and firefighters, because every time they will be too cold outside, they may call the fire chief and say, chief, is too cold today, can I have a cold day or snow day today? So after seeing what those guys were going through on February 8th, I wish the new firefighters all the best, and I'm sure they're up and ready for the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no one else for public comment on consent agenda items. I'll entertain a motion to close.
I actually have one question on.
Can we do that under the council's portion of discussion?
Go ahead.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
So we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now, does any member of the council have a question or wish to pull any resolution on the consent agenda for discussion and or a separate vote?
So just 26-101. I think it's authorized camp registration refund?
Yes.
Okay. Because right now it reads registration.
Should have had refund.
Okay.
That resolution, I believe.
It's clear. It's clear in the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there are no others. All right, Laura, can we vote on this now, or we gotta go do the public hearing first?
No, the minutes.
The minutes or the
Hold on, we're jumping all over here. You got a public hearing after consent agenda public comment, but then we're not voting on the consent agenda right away.
Yeah, I had
Is
to.
there a reason for that?
Yeah, I went by the admin code as far as how things are listed. So when we have separate public hearings, it has to be listed
Okay.
after public comment, so people have
Okay.
the opportunity to.
That's why I asked. So just so everybody knows, we're not gonna vote on the consent agenda for
Just yet.
a few more items here. Okay. So we have before us the minutes of the Sinai Die of January 5th, the reorganization of January 5th, meeting of January 13th, January 27th, and February 10th. Anybody care to motion to approve? Let's do the Sinai Dye as its own thing, and we can do all the others as a group if everybody's okay with that, unless you have a conflict. We get a motion to accept the Sinai Dye minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Laura, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Ms. Harrer?
I abstained, I wasn't.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, so any questions, comments on the minutes from the reorg, January 13th, 27th, or February 10th? Not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Ms. Harrer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item is our public hearing on the submission of a 2026 Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund grant application for lighting improvements for the sport courts at Memorial Field. Mr. Hines, do you want to give a background on this? Do you want Mr. Torres to give a little background on this?
The person who is very knowledgeable is the recreation director, who's here.
Okay. Mr. Torres, can you come up to the podium and just give us a little background on this?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some background on this. We are intending to apply for a Bergen County Parks Open Space Grant. It is a one-to-one matching grant to fund potential projects at Memorial Field for sport courts or athletic field court repair and improvements. I've provided in conjunction with our Ed Hines, our administrator, a number of potential options to Millennium Strategies, our grant writers, and as well to Councilman Gullo and to Mayor Koth for their review and for council decision on which project would, if hopefully one project selected, which project you would be interested in moving forward with. For the time being, the project was submitted as simply a letter of intent to the county, and the final application deadline has not yet come, but is soon approaching. Are there any particular specifics you would like me to go through about the options or pricing variations for the different options?
No, I think you can just touch upon, or we can review the fact that we've had some failures of the lighting systems at the basketball courts, the tennis courts. While newer lighting is not adequately designed to provide a uniform level of lighting that would be acceptable for nighttime play. So we've looked at these failing or misdesigned systems, if you would, to improve them. And the 165, would the borough be required to match that, or the 165 is the total cost?
That is the amount we would be required to match if we were granted that amount.
This is like a $330,000 project, if I understand.
That is the most expensive of the three options that were presented when I had compiled the information. I would seek guidance from the council on which of the options would be preferable, as that would be for the full demolish and replacement of the lights at the basketball courts, as well as handball, and a installation of new lights both there as well as to fully light Mulek baseball field with a 4660 Little League field right there. Other alternate options would be for basketball alone, or an improvement to tennis and pickleball, which does currently have lights that are out of date. They function. They do provide lighting there for 4 of the 5 courts there, though the middle one is not quite to the lighting level of the other courts, and is not as appealing to many of our residents who would rather plan a court with slightly more lighting on it.
Okay, so it's fair to say you looked at a range of options to address the lighting issues.
Yes.
And as we would hope, you've asked for the most expensive one for the purposes of the grant ask.
Correct.
Depending upon how the county views that favorably or not, we'll need to have further discussion about how to actually advance the scope of that project, right? Because I heard you mention lights at the Mulek field, which, I would say I would think that the technology is there, that concerns of the past shouldn't present themselves today. However, That has been a topic that's been discussed in the past and has had substantial public interest, and we would have to have public dialogue before we moved on a project like that.
Absolutely, and to provide some better context to that as well, one of the poles that would hypothetically be put at Mulek could have heads installed back-facing in order to properly light the basketball courts, thus allowing us to have less construction in order to light two facilities rather than the one. That's why that was lumped together for the most expensive option for the purposes, like you said, of getting what we can from the county. And if they grant a lower amount, we can always pivot towards different projects. But if that were granted from the county, the reason why it would be those two is that you would be able to piggyback off of a pole from Mulek in order to light basketball as well, and fix the issue there where the existing light poles are non-functional.
Okay, so a comprehensive approach may give us a bigger bang for our buck.
Precisely.
Okay. Anybody in the council have any questions?
No.
Just so the council understands, if we move ahead and we were to be awarded what we've asked for, we would have to allocate for the match in our 2026 capital budget. It's just so we're all clear on that.
Yeah, so I think when I moved into town, I think, Mayor, what you're referring to, I don't know, this is 30 years ago potentially, there was a proposal, as the mayor mentioned, to have lights there. I'm sure we probably all remember it, and it was quite a, whatever adjective you want to use, a civil war, and it was defeated. And at that, to the mayor's point, I'm not a lighting guy, but I'm sure technology has come a long way. So yeah, we need to really dig deep into that for the residents that live right there, and spillage and things like that. And yes, it would be part of capital, and I did ask that we'd have to put it in there. If we're not granted that, then those funds, again, and maybe our CFO can speak to that, now it's in our capital, and is that in the future for our discretion, or did I have to go for a rec program, et cetera, if we're not granted?
We could repurpose the money if it's not used by resolution. The council would have to vote on that and have a discussion.
You know, I also would like to make sure that there was mention about the leaks of where the light goes. I think that was one of the biggest problems.
That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, and that the directionality of it, and that that's effectively done. And I think sometimes that's been not effectively done, and that has bothered the citizens. So we need to be very clear that whatever we put up, that we're checking on where the light's going and be effective about it.
In terms of the future use, if we're denied the bid, would we potentially have discretion? Would it have to be recreation, or could we say it's in our capital budget, we need a new police car?
It's always easier to use it for a like purpose for which we bonded for it.
Right,
but it could be repurposed if necessary.
Yeah,
Okay, so
you
we
got
have some
similar
flexibility.
useful life. If it relates to improvement to parks or rec projects, that has its own useful life versus a police vehicle has 7 years.
Just use that, yeah. It would have some flexibility.
Okay. So just a little bit of a broad overview for everybody's edification. The county's program typically does not make awards until December of the year, right? So there's a whole process they go through. This part is ascertaining interest on who wants to participate. It goes through staff reviews. There's an open space trust fund board. It gets before the commissioners, and generally the awards are made in December of each year. So why we're doing this, and we would have to budget for the match, assuming that we were able to get it. We really wouldn't see the money until the end of the year. This would not be a project really until 2027. Right. So, and at that time, we'd have to undertake a proper design, make a presentation before the council, and have public dialogue over the goals that we're trying to accomplish, so that everybody can ask the questions they need to before we would move ahead and go out to bid. I'm going to, it's not in here, but I'm going to ask for a motion to open it to the public in case they have any questions or they want to make comments on this resolution as it relates to our public hearing for making the request.
Just one other thing, is this the same program, was open space the train station?
Different component of the program, but
it
same
is
program.
the county open space,
Yep.
okay.
So we have a motion to open to the public. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now open to the public for questions specific to the grant application.
All as soon as beautiful Beverly Road. I brought this up before when I mentioned before in the resolutions, and it seemed to me like $169,000 times 2. It's a lot of money for lighting. I don't know. I mean, the lighting there. I don't know how it's working now. If there's any lighting at all, but how much better is it going to be for how many people that are actually using that at night? And that's my thing, to spend that much money to improve it. I know we want to make improvements in the town and everything, but being that with all the budget problems that we have and everything else.
So, Paul, what I would say is I think this estimate is on perhaps the lighter end of what it would actually cost. Copper wire, LED fixtures, trenching, none of this stuff is cheap work.
Yeah.
Computer controls, none of it's cheap. What I could say this is that if we didn't get this or we didn't move ahead with it, the council would at a point in time have to make a decision about whether or not we would allow certain types of sports to be played past dusk. Because if you're going to use a facility after dusk, you're required by design standards to have a certain illumination on the ground plane. So somebody doesn't roll their ankle, trip over this, can see that, right? There are standards a nighttime facility needs to be designed to. And if we don't meet that standard, technically we shouldn't be using that facility past dusk. We have had lighting in the past. I can't tell you it's met all the requirements. Since some of the lighting's failed, we've used portable light towers to supplement in the interim, as our rec director was looking at an option like this to see if we can get some grant money towards this. But electrical work and computerized controls are not a cheap venture.
So what we have now is a liability now? Is that the problem?
It could be.
It
could be.
It is. And how many people are actually using that? I mean, is there a lot of people? I mean, is it like a group of 25, 30 people that come there, or is it hundreds of people?
Basketball, tennis, and the pickleball courts are pretty heavily used.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mayor, if I may, you referenced, and it's the first time recently that we've used at the opposite end at Park in Seminole, or Park in Prospect, those portable lights. So this proposal would not include that down there, no, in terms of, but we are using them, some of our rec programs, occasionally the police lights down there, but why?
These are disconnected. I don't think we're in a position to want to illuminate all of Memorial Field.
But we are using those now at various times, I guess.
We're using Park because some of the fields in River Edge are not online due to renovation. So that's why Park was set up that way.
So their renovations are ending. Those fields should be back online this season. But what I would say is those lights are more heavily used in the shoulder seasons when we have not a lot of light after school time, right? So these afternoon programs get caught at dusk. Those lights are meant to buy them a little bit more time. They're really not meant for nighttime play.
Yeah.
Any other public comments on this resolution?
Oricats in Laurel Drive. In 2022, I believe, 2023, I was in contact with a lady from the Oradell Kids Foundation, and they were looking to use some of the proceeds from the Oradell 5K into improvement at the baseball and basketball court, specifically for lighting. She was asking me if I know electricians, and I do know many good ones, and I believe my electrician provided an estimate of $55,000 for new LED fixtures only to be installed on the existing posts. Are we talking now about new posts destructing the?
New posts, yes, sir.
Oh,
Mr. Katzen, please address the council.
yeah, no, I was just wanted
Yeah,
a
it's
clarification. I'm sorry. So if obviously $55, it's only to take fixtures and just put them over an existing one, which is the easy way. I understand new post requires obviously running, possibly running new wires, even though the new LED lightings that are available today consume possibly half the amount of electricity of the original one who were installed. And to the person who asked the question here about the usage of it, when I moved here, like you, Tom, 30 years ago, I used that basketball court quite a lot. So I think it would be a good thing to provide another opportunity for those who do not like to play pickleball or baseball, whatever, to actually have another type of sport to do. What I would also like to say is about this amount of money, $165,000 to $330,000 to spend on that. That is without the operating cost of later on putting in and paying for the electric bill. Okay, I know that PSEG has a program, and I'm sure Councilman Tashian has all the connection with PSEG. There are programs of PSEG that I think they are providing the fixture, and you pay them certain amount of money per year, and they are lighting up, and that amount per year includes the electricity, includes the fixture. So maybe we can get from PSEG also an estimate what they would charge. And the good thing about the PSEG program, because I know Brookside Auto Body use it for their yard, is if any of those fixtures ever fail, doesn't matter. As long as you pay your annual fee to PSEG, that thing fails, they bring in their truck, they bring in their technician, and they go out and at their own expense, they're paying to repair and replace the thing. So that may be another option that could save money for the long run. They're paying for the fixtures and they're maintaining it as long as you pay the optional fee.
Their program does not do athletic field lighting.
Okay.
They only do area lighting. So exactly what you're describing is 100% spot on. We have some of those in our municipal lots. They're in other places throughout town at some intersections. Commercial business has them. They want to light their lot up. They pay a fee to PS per fixture. It's all packaged nicely, but they don't do sports field lighting systems.
And you cannot change the definition of the athletic field to public area?
No.
You can do it.
Yeah, I could do it.
Roger can do it.
I don't think PS is going to buy it, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment under Resolution 26-91? Not, I'll entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I think that concludes our public hearing on our application to the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund. Next item on the agenda.
I just need a motion and a second to approve that resolution.
The application? Oh.
Yeah, the resolution 2691.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a motion to approve Resolution 26-91.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Ms. Hare?
Yes.
Okay. Next, I want to welcome to the microphone our Chief Financial Officer. Trying to save time, Chief Financial Auditor. That's a new title, right? Chief Financial Officer Katie Chen and our Borough Auditor Dieter Lurch from Lurch, Vinci and Bliss to talk to the council about the introduction of our 2026 operating budget. But before they take off, I want to thank all of our department heads for being here tonight to take any questions that may come from the council. As I alluded to a little earlier, I'll just cover the umbrella on which we operated the budget this year. It was not to have the entire council sit here and grill every single department head on TV about every leaf they picked up or lawnmower blade they needed to buy or stop sign that was required, but really to allow the staff to work through with the administrator and the CFO what they thought they needed to fund their programs and goals for 2026 for the borough. That took place in the latter part of 2025, early 2026, and then that budget became the requested budget that was brought to the Finance Committee of the Council. That's chaired by Council President Kelly, and that committee spent a couple of sessions going through the budget with the administrator, our auditor, and our CFO, yielding what's before us tonight, which is what we're calling a recommended budget. That ties what the staff is asking for with what the Finance Committee thinks the overarching goals of the borough globally are and how those things work together. So we have a requested, we have a recommended. Sometime between tonight and our last meeting in May, we will have discussions at our next 3 meetings about questions from the council. They just got the recommended budget on Friday in their packets. There will be questions from the council of the various departments at times, and we will look to adopt our 2026 operating budget at our second meeting in May. So we're required to have 28 days between the introduction and the adoption. We'll have almost 6 weeks between the introduction and the adoption. So that's our global overall picture on the budget process. And I'll turn it over to Council President Kelly if he has a few words before Katie and Dieter.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I would just like to echo, the thanks for the hard work. Again, the original ask from the budget. Obviously, I think it's we all know in our own lives that budgets are under duress, and a number of the speakers tonight have mentioned that. Number one, I guess, on the I mentioned in the past, health insurance. So that's right off the bat, whether it's here or any of the pass-throughs. Again, at the end of the day, and you'll see from the slides here, again, we're a pass-through. If it's 70 cents of every dollar collected goes out the door to our schools and to the county. So any pressures from cost, fixed costs that we're under, they're under the same cost. So it was, literally an in-depth process of many meetings and calls with our professionals who are here tonight to look at line by line. And as the mayor mentioned, I thought it was prudent for us to do that heavy lifting before we got to this point. And I think we're at a pretty good point here. If this is the night for introduction, where we are. So, I think that's really a good summary. And we do have a presentation. I'm assuming we can put it up here on the screen. And again, our CFO and our auditor can go through that and just have an active dialogue there. Again, we know the pressures, if you can address that. And then we were able to cut, and sometimes some hard decisions, and for the rest of this body to discuss of where we are and where we'll be in a month from now or 6 weeks from now. That sound good? So, Katie, if you want to
lead us through the introduction, then.
Okay. So we're going to just go through the slides, both Peter and I. The first slide is the historical surplus analysis.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mayor, members of the council, and thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with the Finance Chair and Council President prior to it to go through all the different pressures, spending pressures, and financial challenges that the borough of Oradell is facing. And I think just want to echo, it's not just Oradell. You read the paper on the county. It's not a county problem. It's not a state problem. It's a national problem. Health insurance is a national problem, and you'll see that's one of the biggest issues that you're facing as well. Let me just touch on the historical surplus, and the surplus is really the savings account of the borough. It's the amount, and for those who are in the corporate finance world, it's the equity. It's what you have as a capital equity. And in municipal accounting, what we do with the equity is whatever we generate, we actually calculate. Let me just give a big overall how the budget is really prepared. We really calculate what is the spending plan. How much do you need to spend once we take the spending plan, then we subtract that, our fees and our revenues that we collect from our courts, our construction department, things of that nature. We then take a look at what do we have in our savings account and what is really a recommended level to keep in that savings account for a number of reasons. And the number of reasons being that we need it for cash flow purposes. So that enables us for cash flow. It also enables the Borough of Oradell to maintain the magnificent AA rating net. The rating from, from Moody's, the AA rating, which is obviously just one notch short of a AAA rating. And they do evaluate the surplus balance that you have when they come up with that rating. In the state of New Jersey, you have to have there's the state constitution. The state constitution of the state of New Jersey requires a balanced budget. And unlike the federal government, they don't have a balanced budget. But the state has a balanced budget. Every town in the state of New Jersey has a balanced budget. Means your revenues equal your expenses. So the only way we regenerate is surplus. The only way you can regenerate the surplus is either we collected more than we had budgeted, that we anticipated as a revenue. If it's in excess, that'll go to surplus. The other end is if we spend less than what we had budgeted. So whatever we didn't spend. That's the only two ways you really can get it. So without going through every single number, I'll just touch on some of the highlights on this. Current year taxes, we collected $408,000 more than what we had budgeted. The reason being is you have a fantastic tax collection rate. Our tax collection rate in Oradell is 99.38%. That would match the highest of any of the towns throughout the state of New Jersey. That is truly, when you talk about a typical tax rate for a suburban town, now I'm not going to the cities, suburban towns, probably somewhere around 98%. In the northern part of the state of New Jersey, somewhere around 98, 98.5. You're at 99.38. So again, fantastic tax collection. So the $408,000, that goes to surplus. Then when we talk about the spending plan, let me touch the next one. The next one is the miscellaneous revenue anticipated. You'll see that we collected $139,000 extra. When I say, because the $139,000, that's the amount over and above the budget. That's really, again, from the investment plan. Okay, we had budget around $270,000. We collected over $380,000 just about.
Yeah.
Because again, that's a byproduct of the surplus. Because we're carrying a nice surplus, just shy of $5 million. And the town also, and really under the, leadership of the finance chair too, on the investment, who strongly works with the CFO, and that would be, Councilman Kelly works strongly with the CFO to maximize our interest, to make sure that on all your idle funds, that we maximize the return of interest.
Yeah, if I may jump in.
Please.
That's the reason last meeting we approved the banking RFP I mentioned. Why? To put these guys in competition, and we're in that process right now. And hey, what can you do for us? How much can you pay us? Et cetera, right? This is competitive because we pay our taxes. Why? They'll
Correct.
take your house if you don't. But that's to your point, Dieter. Yes, that's it. That's our job.
That's correct, and that shows in your budgeted revenues. Yeah. Collected the $125,000 extra, somewhere thereabout. Next major item I just want to talk about is the unexpended prior year expenditures. That's the $614,000. So you have a $21 million budget. Of the $20 million budget, now a budget in the state of New Jersey lives 2 years. So that's not what you didn't spend in 2025. It's what you budgeted in 24 and what was left over in the budget from 24, the amount that was unexpended. Now you had unexpended $614,000. I just want to make this comment. It actually shows to the high degree of accuracy that you forecasted your budget.
2024, you have $20 million, I'm going to round it, it's 21 and change, but a $20 million spending plan. It's against the law to overspend your budget, so you can't spend $20 million and $1. It's against the law to do that. So you spent literally $600,000 less, $19.4 million, give or take. So you really spent 97% of your budget. And that's really the challenges you face. When you face this process again this year, you're facing the process in 2026, you balance that constantly. And as a governing body, that's really the challenge you're facing, because you have to provide adequate funds, but you know you're not allowed to overexpend it. And at the same token, you want to keep that as close as you can. You want to stay in that 95 to 97%, because obviously that's the way that you maintain stability in the tax rate. So again, that shows a good sign. You spent 97%, so that was a good sign. So bottom line, I'm just trying to keep it for expediency's sake a little. The quote-unquote profit, what did we take in constitutionally? Where did, from the money I didn't spend and the money I collected over what I should have spent, the quote-unquote profit was $1.8 million. $1,869,000 to be exact. Of the $1,869,000, $1.6 million was used to support that budget, so that the actual surplus would go up the difference. So when we actually prepare a surplus, and I'll just bring this full circle, as I started, we do a spending plan, then we subtract the fees and permits, then we subtract what we think we're going to regenerate in surplus, because you want to maintain somewhere around that $5 million surplus level, and that's how you arrive at taxes. So when you really go on a high level, how did you come up with the taxes? How did you come up with the tax levy? The way we come up with the tax levy is, what do we spend? What are we going to collect from other sources? And what do we have in the bank that we're comfortable using, just as you would run your own business or your own household? And you see, you did a really good job. I mean, and that's you collectively, because you set the budget, the governing body. You did a really good job. You used $1.6 million, you made back $1.8 million. So now we're at $4.9 million. 4 million, I like to call it $5 million, $4,942,000. We just missed a few bucks. I like to call it $5 million. $5 million, you have a $21 million budget, so you're at 23% surplus level. 23% surplus level is clearly a AAA level. I can assure you that. Very few AAA towns, you would be right on the cusp of that, I can tell you that. You have a surplus of a AAA town at 23% of your operating budget. You have the economics, of the households in the town that meet that criteria as well. So I think all in all, it just shows strong fiscal management on the surplus end, which has a lot of impacts for a lot of things, and I think I kind of touched on that.
The next slide is just a summary of, again, what Dieter just talked about the fund balance from 2023 to 2026. Again, we have increased our surplus by $1.25 million over the 2023 balance, and it has to do with the strong fiscal management by the town, and that we're really careful with our spending, with our planning, and it's showing in the numbers that we see in our fund balance that we're able to regenerate year over year. So that's what that fund balance slide. The next one is the equalized valuation. So this slide is showing that, over the past 5 years, Oradell has experienced a 40% increase in equalized valuation. And what does that mean? That means that the value of your home has increased 40% since 2021. And this is a very strong overall growth in the property values across the borough.
But just to be clear, that doesn't mean your tax bill increased 40%.
Correct.
Right.
It's just the value of the home has
I'm sure you'll
increased.
get into the rate and all that.
Yeah, no,
stuff.
yeah, absolutely. Because as the rateable base grows, your tax rate, the actual rate, gets lowered. Let me just make this comment, though. It does have a portion of the increase over the last 3 years. A portion of your tax increase is the result of these increasing values. And I want to just make this statement just for the clarification. The major growth in the last couple of years has been in the residential component of the town. The commercial has stayed relatively flat on the valuations, so that as a result of these increasing values, a small piece of your increase has been passed on from that commercial area to the residential area. And I just touch one more thing, because the library was up here quite a bit, so I'll just take 60 seconds. Because they've, and I'm just going to touch on the financial, I have no editorial comment. They've been the beneficiary of this. I mean, this has gone up quite substantially each year because of the equalized valuation. The equalized valuation has increased. They get 1/3 of a mil. So if I go back to 2021, it would have been 1/3 of a mil. It would have been 600,000 and change. I don't have the number right in front of me. Today it's 888,000, 800,000. So.
And last year, 814. So
Thank
that's
you. They have been the beneficiary. So and I don't want to editorialize. I just want
sure.
everybody.
That's
to know.
that slide, right, how that relates to housing values. Yeah,
Correct.
that's it in a nutshell, right there.
Okay, the next slide. This is a statement of revenues. I'm just going to go over the highlights. Now, the surplus anticipated, again, we're anticipating 1.6 million. Going back to the fund balance analysis, we ended up the year of 2025 with a 4.9 million fund balance. The year before, in 2025 budget, we utilized 1.6. We were able to regenerate 1.8. So in this year's budget, the introduced budget, we're again anticipating 1.6, hoping that we can regenerate again at least the same amount of fund balance for the year of 2026. The next one is, I wanted to point out, is the fees, permits, interests, and costs and fines under the local revenues. As you can see, it's went up by 121,000, which is 10.87%. And it has to do with, again, Dieter talked about it before, that we were able to took advantage of our investment of the interest, and we were able to make $115,000 on the interest on investment. Everything else kind of stayed flat, but that was a big driving factor of the interest that we were able to. At the end of the year, we were able to make $121,000 on the local revenues. State aid is pretty much flat year over year. Miscellaneous states and county grants, as you can see, there's a significant decrease on that. But again, I just want to make a point that we do have an offsetting appropriation on the spending side. So the net effect is zero, even though we're seeing a decrease, a 721,000 decrease. But on the appropriation side, we're also going to be seeing a same amount of decrease. And the reason for the decrease is that in 2025, we have been awarded $500,000 of DCA grant for the public facility improvements, and we were able to use that money, that grant money, to complete the acquisition of the rectory. So that was a very wonderful news. So that was the biggest driving factor of the decrease of this year. Again, I just wanted to point out that throughout the year, if we get awarded of any sorts of grants, whether or not it's a county grant or state grants, we're always able to bring it into the budget by passing a resolution of Chapter 159. So we're always able to bring that in, even though that this is showing a decrease. The next one is special items of general revenues. Again, it's pretty much flat. Dieter, do you want to talk about the reserve for payment of debt?
Yeah, sure. The reserve payment of debt is $150,000. The borough actually received approximately $300,000 in grant monies for projects that were completed in prior years that were permanently financed back in 2024. So that money gets reserved since we issued the debt on that because it's a reimbursement grant. So the $150,000 that we're using in the budget this year represents pretty close to what the increase in the debt service is. Your debt service went up from about $1.8 million to $1.95 million, interest on bonds. So now that we got this money pledged against the debt, we're using that to offset it. So the increased debt has no tax impact whatsoever.
Next one is the receipt from delinquent taxes. Again, this is pretty much a small amount just due to we have a very good collection rate of 99%. The library tax levy, that's a third of the mill on the equalized valuation, and that's the mandatory minimum funding. So we're showing an $881,000, which is a $66,000 increase and 8.17%. The municipal tax levy at the introduced budget is $16,240,000, and it's showing a 2.69% increase. So we have a total revenues of $21,278,000, which is a little bit under than the 2025 budget revenue. The next slide is the summary of appropriations. So the salaries and wages, obviously, it's contractual. We're looking at a very minimum increase right there. Operating expenses, it's pretty much flat. It's less than 2% increase. The library, again, that's the statutory mandatory funding for the library levy. Utilities, that's, PSE&G, we're looking at a 3.25%. The biggest expense increase we're seeing for the 2026 budget is the medical insurance. So the medical insurance premiums, they were projected to increase by 37% in 2026. The governing body took a proactive measures and implemented a health savings account program to assist both the borough and the employees. So because of the proactive approach that the mayor and council took, and that's why we're not seeing a 37% increase. We're actually seeing an 18%, but it's still a lot of money. You're looking at a $500,000 increase in the budget alone. The next one, again, the statutory charges, that's another increase, which is, 46,000, 2.65%. That's the pension. That's the statutory charges. We include pension payments and Social Security. That's in that category. Public and private programs, again, this is the offsetting spending on the grants. So when you see on the revenue side, the $49,000 is also reflected on the appropriation side. Capital improvements, that's the 5% of our 5% of our bond ordinance. So having $150,000, $155,000, we technically can have a bond ordinance of $3 million. This is a 5% requirement of a down payment. The bottom line, $21 million. In 2026, we're looking at a $12,000 decrease of 2020 from 2025. With everything else going up, the insurance, and we're still coming to the mayor and council with us $12,000 less of a budget compared to 2025.
So thank you, Katie. If you can comment, and again, this would speak to, and if you comment on some of the tough kind of decisions that where we are right now in this first iteration of the budget. And that would be where we are right now. And as the mayor mentioned, we're going to hear over the next couple of weeks, salaries and wages. What's the number of expense for any budget? Is people. So there's a couple of spots that we're deferring at this point. I guess that there's 1 or 2 vacant positions in various departments, right? That's helping out the numbers that those salaries are dropping off this number. And that's why, unless I'm incorrect, the first line is fairly a wash that we, as you mentioned, contractual raises and things like that. But that's a help to get this budget
next page.
where it is right now.
They're still on this page.
Oh, there's
No, go to the next page, because I think it's going to answer what Tom's talking about.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, you want to go through the major cuts?
the major cuts.
There you go.
Okay. Did I, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
But that's, your
Thank
first
you.
line item there, that's amongst, and other issues that we went in line by line. That's it there, I think. Would you
Yeah, let me
concur
make
with
a-
that? Yeah.
Yeah, let me make a big comment, because I just want to tie this up a little bit I just want to tie this together a little bit. When you take a look at this spending plan, First of all, the total spending plan is just about flat. Take a look at the one increase. The big increase is your insurance, $524,000. The total tax levy that's being presented in this budget is less than $525,000. The total tax levy that's being requested for this council to introduce is an increase of $424,000. The insurance alone went up $550,000. It kind of says it all. The insurance went up $516,000, yet we're only going to the public and to the people of the town for an increase of $425,000. The tax increase is almost $100,000 less than your insurance increase. And I think that just kind of summarizes all the hard
Right
work
there, yeah.
that the committee did, and I really do. I mean, for you to come here with an increase less than the insurance increase alone.
Yeah.
And maintain this surplus and everything else. So I really think that's just the result of all the hard work. And I think it shows on this slide. All because all the cuts that came with the request, if the request had stayed, the tax levy would have been up another $340,000.
Just got a question on the debt. If you can comment on the increase of 10% from year to year.
Sure.
Well, the debt, with the increase for the debt, it's because we have to budget for our interest on notes, because we went out for a note sale in 2025, and we're required to budget the notes on the interest on notes that's going to mature in 2026. Okay. So that's the reason for that increase. That
The
we have to
short-term
budget.
financing.
The short-term financing, yes.
Good. Next page.
The tax levy.
Is that where we are?
Yeah.
Yeah. The borough's required, this is just a estimate, and I want to use that word estimate because this council that sits before us is only responsible for the municipal increase. This council has no input, I won't say no input, but has no influence in the tax rates that are being struck by the other different agencies, that being the county, that being the local school, and that being the regional school. This was just for full disclosure. Since these schools have already introduced their budgets, they most likely have not formally adopted them yet, but this is most likely what they're going to adopt based on the introduced budget. The overall tax bill will go up approximately 3.7%, even though the municipal portion is only 2.6%. What I'd like to do is go to the next slide.
Yeah, I think that's powerful,
Yeah, I think the next slide for the general public and for everybody to realize it. I mean, we collect $50 million through our tax office, $51 million and change, but let's call it $50 million. Of the $50 million, and Council President, you touched on this earlier, only 30 cents comes to the town.
Yeah.
Every dollar you pay in taxes, 30 cents comes to the town. So, if you're somebody's paying whatever the average bill might be, somewhere in the $18,000 range or whatever, only $5,000 of it comes to the town. The rest is going to the county and to the two schools. So you only control 30 cents, but yet they come and pay 100% of the bill.
Correct.
To your window. You can go to the next slide. This has got a lot of numbers. I think we covered a lot of it, so I'm going to try to just kind of expedite this slightly. As far as the amount to be raised by taxation, I already touched that, $17,121,000, under 3%, $424,000. These net assessed value, Katie touched on it. the values keep escalating. As the values escalate, the tax rate goes down. That's why you'll see the tax rate in 2024 was 85 cents, 0.853. Then it went down to 70 cents, now it's down to 69 cents. The only reason is because the values have gone up. So it's the value of your home times the tax rate generates the dollars. Cut right through the chase, the average tax bill based on the budgets that's being presented to you today would be an increase of $191. The average tax bill of the municipal portion will be $5,775 compared to last year, $5,584. I did want to make this observation, though. Even these very challenging economic times, with these escalating health insurance costs, and with all these other things that you face in these utility costs, gasoline costs, everything that you're faced with, your actual increase has gone lesser and lesser. The budget increase was $211 back in '24, and I'm not saying an increase. Obviously, we would love to have zero. Then it went up $195 last year proposed, and this year the proposed increase is even lower, $191. And you're doing all of this while still maintaining a surplus balance and actually increasing your surplus balance. It's easy for different towns and different communities throughout the whole state, easy to say, oh, let's just rate our savings. And then that's when you read these things in the paper all the time, when you read, a lot of these school budgets, these massive layoffs, because they rated their savings. You read this where they're, cataclysmic. They're asking transition aid, Jersey City, $150 million they're asking for, because they rated their surplus. That's what's going on. Patterson, every year, goes to the state for transitional aid. Another $50 million they want, because they bankrupt their own town.
Yeah.
And I don't want to compare you to any of those towns, but I just, in this whole period, and yet you've had an increasing surplus from 3.8 million up to 5 million, and you reduce the increase each and every year. And I'll just share this. This is not on the record, but it's from very reliable, since I'm involved in a lot of different budgets throughout the state. This is going to, you'll see as the budgets hit in the area, and I'm talking up in our area now, stay in our area, you're going to see $190, even though I know that's a challenge to the residents and nobody likes an increase. You'll find that'll be one of the lowest increases of any of your neighboring towns. And you'll see, because they'll all start to hit now in the next couple of weeks. And $191, I can assure you, is well below what the average increase will be.
Thank you, Dita, and thanks for all your guidance the whole way.
Could I ask a question before we move on?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. So just in terms of the tax rate, how do the other thing that the mayor has spoken about a number of times, we get first quarter, second quarter coupons, and it's incorrect to multiply those numbers by 4, right? That's why we're doing these budget transfers. So how, if we stand right now, the correct way to find out my taxes for 2026 is get what I just got in the mail a couple of weeks ago, the assessed valuation of my house by 0.69, right? And that's the number for my 2026 taxes for whatever that may be.
That's correct.
And again, that tax coupon that comes out, that's really catching up for the previous year, so that's not incorrect. Just that. And to your point, every day in the newspaper, I mentioned, I think in Mr. Hines' neighborhood, his school, there's 27 layoffs in a small little town in northern Bergen County, a fancy town. Yep.
Very affluent area.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Which town?
Yeah, which is, that's,
Upper Saddle River.
And that happens when you raid your surplus. And I'll leave it because it's on the record. I live in Franklin Lakes.
Yeah.
Okay? And in Franklin Lakes years ago, they had to go to a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they raided the surplus. I'm talking about 10 or 12 years ago. The new administration, and they raided the surplus and they couldn't even pay the workers.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
that's
also,
cataclysmic. Today, obviously,
yeah, and managing the debt correctly, right?
Yeah.
And fixing when rates, the floating rates are going lower. So, thank you, and thanks, Katie, and everybody else for your work tonight. And I appreciate it, yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
So, Maggie, hold on a second. So
Not yet. Go ahead.
Affordable housing has worn me down, and I'm slipping. But we need to get back under control here, right? We got to run this meeting one person at a time. You got to ask to be recognized. We're not having open dialogues with everybody. We're gonna. I want to re-explain the process because I know you and others have plenty of questions, and we have the next 3 meetings to go through them, and we'll get to the questions in a second. But I just, as these guys wrapped up their overview of where we're at, I think we're about to start to get into some of the, broad questions we have, but some of the more detailed, granular ones that we want to ask about things that we've taken note of since we've had some time on Friday to review the budget. But just a recap. So we're introducing the budget tonight. We are hearing from Dieter and Katie and Tom as the chair of the Finance Committee for the first time what the budget looks like in totality. And this is what's recommended at this point. These numbers can and probably will change slightly between now and the time we adopt the budget at the end of May, because through our discussions and questions, we may find out that some of the things that, have been cut are necessary because a department head's going to get up and say, I'm not going to be able to do this if I can't get funded for that. And that's a decision we have to make and say, well, we'd love to do it, but we have to make some tough choices. Or, okay, great point. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We need to put that back in, but hopefully find an offset somewhere else. The other thing is, this is an exercise, the exciting thing for me about how we changed things up with the Finance Committee this year is this is an exercise to everybody take a look at this thing, right? And independently, without having to sit here and be on the spot to ask a department head questions because we haven't heard from them until that point in time. How could we be so prepared to ask them questions when we've just heard their presentation? Right, so we're going to have a couple goes at the apple here, but I'll give you a couple of examples. So I went through the entire budget book and went through 4 things of those Post-it tabs about questions like, why are there 4 internet service providers bringing in internet service to this building? Why isn't there 1? Maybe 2, right? We need a redundant provider. Why do we have 4 different accounts? Why do we have 12 different accounts for copiers? Why do we use, 12 different providers for this? It's crazy. It really is when you look at it. Look, everybody functions to their maximum efficiency, and I don't want to say anybody's doing anything wrong here by any stretch of the imagination. But in order for us to continue to go forward and try and accomplish what Dieter just explained, that while our costs are increasing, we're actually decreasing the spend and the levy that we need to put out there. And while that's important for us today, the work we're doing here is extremely important for next year and the year after that and the year after that, because while the state benefits plan came out and said you're going up 39% in 2026, they said, hey, you're probably going to go up the same thing again in 2027. It's not sustainable, right? We didn't even talk about increases in the trash collection contract once we rebid that. Right, so we as a council are going to have some borderline uncomfortable discussions about the things that we want to accomplish, the things we need to accomplish, and the things we can accomplish, right? And we'll make those decisions as a body. But, I want to encourage the department heads to, they're seeing a list of, I don't know that I would have phrased it. Sorry, Katie, I know your job's to be the tough guy, but major budget cuts, right? Get the axe out and just chop it off. Those adjustments may be right, they may not be right, and we'll hear from the department heads on what their reaction to that is, as much as we may have some questions for them. So this is the start of a dialogue. We're going to go the next 2 meetings to have dialogue as much as we need to. Before we get to the May meeting where we adopt the spending plan. But I have to say, as much as we could say, hey, you know what, we don't have to cut $339,000, let's use some more surplus because we can, because we generated more, that may not put us in an equally good position next year when we're getting another $500,000 increase on health benefits. Right, so we were really fortunate as a council to get out ahead of that and reduce our exposure 20% on what the increase was. And the increase we realized was 500 alone. Can you imagine if it was the full 38, 39%? We need to look to get out of the plan. I mean, honestly, it's on a crash course for destruction, that plan. And the more people that leave, the worse the plan gets financially. So, you know, we need to keep our eye on the long picture as much as we're into the short picture. And I'm very much focused on trying to make sure our increase is the minimal it can be to adequately operate the town. What we didn't get into is spending less while our costs increase. We also provided more programs last year, right? We didn't get into the whole, hey, we had a great concert series, hey, we had this, we heard from the library before about how their circulation increased and so forth. There's so many good things that we haven't even heard the benefit of that we're accomplishing while these, you know, benchmarks are moving in the directions they are. So the last thing I want to address before we get into the, you know, opening it up for questions is the whole thing about the assessment. We're going to have Mr. Anzavino do another seminar for folks who want to come down and hear about that process. I think that worked very well last year. We'll work to get a date for that so that whether we hold it here or in the senior building, depending upon the crowd we might expect, I think that might be an annual thing we do based on the fact that we do a rolling reassessment. But the other thing is I've challenged our collector, to revision how we're sending the communications out. So everybody flips out in August when you get this estimated tax bill that you just multiply by 4 and you say, oh my God, my taxes are crazy. No, it's not. Right? So instead of getting that little red coupon, you're going to get something that looks more like your regular tax bill that has the breakdown amongst all the entities, the 2 school districts, the county, the library, everything that taxes. You're going to get the complete picture so you can see what your situation is as it relates to your home and what your tax levy is. Because we have to more clearly communicate that to people, because we just can't afford to have thousands of dollars in increases when you look at the aggregate of the taxing authorities. Year over year. We've spent so much time talking about affordable housing. I think we're all going to need to sign up for it ourselves, because we're all going to be broke at this rate. So, you know, it's great we have such a high tax collection rate, but, you know, there will be a crux that people get pushed to where it's going to be a breaking point, you know?
I agree.
So while it's good that our values are going up, because if we're going to sell, we're going to reap a windfall from that, I don't think that's really why most people buy in this community. They buy for the long run here. And as we heard from some, you know, multi-generations. So, look, this is a process. We'll always try and be as transparent as we can and have as much engagement as we can. And having recapped that, I'll open it up to the council for whoever wants to start with some questions.
Yeah, ask a
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
I used to do this in school. I would cross fingers for the number of questions I had to ask so I wouldn't forget them. My fingers
Just
are getting
2?
wrapped around each other here. My issue is really, as I'm new to the council, and Katie Chen has been wonderful. I've asked her a couple times to explain some things to me, but it's the categorization and what things mean. So my question is, when you say average municipal tax bill, that's not our actual tax bill. It's the amount that goes to the municipality. Is that correct? Because I don't think anybody's average bill is $5,000.
No, that's correct.
So it's the percent that goes to the municipality.
That's roughly
itself.
30%. So
Okay, I just want to be really clear about that. Because I thought if the average is 5,000, I'm living on the wrong block.
Yeah.
You know? So, and my other question, and Mayor, you've been wonderful explaining how when the assessments go up, we fiddle a bit maybe or alter the percentage that of the tax that we charge. But you had mentioned once that the county does not. So my question, and maybe this is a larger question we'll discuss going along, if our assessments are going up and Oradell is gently adjusting its percentage for taxation, but the county is not, then we're paying more to the county because they don't accommodate the fact that the assessments have gone up. Is that correct?
So I hope to, in a future meeting, talk about how the other taxing jurisdictions, like the library, and just to be comprehensive, I'm mentioning them all, the local, the regional school district, and the county, how that historically has looked against our valuations. Because the reality is that we control that theoretical $5,775. And yes, Maggie, I'd love to live on that block too. But the reality is, you know, people need to go to the school board meeting. They should go talk about, you know, things at the county if they think that their taxes are out of control. There's more than just us. We get the bad rap because we collect the money.
Because we take it, yeah.
Right? We're the collector.
But that's the education part. And
Correct.
I admire the idea that we do this annually, that we educate the public, and if they take advantage of it, they can get more and more informed. And absolutely, because participatory democracy is how we get what we want. And not just talking to this council and mayor, but also to the county council and to the school boards, who are in fact a greater percentage of your tax bill. So I'm trying to wrap myself around all that and where that all comes in, because my annual assessment has gone up considerably every year, the last couple of years. I've done nothing to my house in the last few years. The people across the street went from having a sort of $500,000 house to knocking down all but one wall and ending up selling a much expanded house for $1.4 million, which I was astonished. We have a lovely, peaceful little block, but that's like amazing to us. And I think that's happening all over Oradell. And that kind of thing is what alters the value of our house, even though we haven't done anything to it or improved it in any way. And I guess there's not really anything you can do about that. If one house on the block tilts the block, the assessment changes, correct?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the good thing is long-term, your investment grows.
No, and absolutely. Absolutely.
Unfortunately,
your mouth to God's ears.
Unfortunately, our service charge are the taxes we have to pay in the interim.
Yeah. And I think that mentioning that, that's why people want to live in Oradell, because our land and our values of our houses keep increasing, and that's why a good management of the borough that we're all up here working so hard for is part of what's keeping those values going up. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around the distinctions in the budget of how things are allocated. So my questions have more to do with definitions.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Oh.
Anyone else?
I just have a question. Katie, if you could provide, between now and the next time, a little bit more clarity on slide 8, which is the major budget cuts. Obviously reserved for tax appeals. I know what that means.
Right.
But, you know, I'd like to get a little bit more of where we're taking the haircuts per department, per bullet, if we could do that at a high level.
Okay.
It would just help to understand, okay, it's $30,000 from recycling. What does that mean? Because you cut, but then what happens downstream? What are we then removing from a service standpoint? And we're obviously here to service the town. So we don't have to go to full detail,
Okay.
but it would just be helpful to get a little bit more color on why we're taking $30,000 away from recycling.
I mean, I can just, make a comment on that. For the recycling program, we're using our recycling tonnage grant that we have on the books to help with our spending on the budget. So that's the reason why we choose to, utilize the grant that we have to offset the budget spending.
Yeah, so that would just be helpful to have that. Okay, that actually is a great example. So we're not losing the service.
No, we're
we're
not
just
losing
able
the
to save
service,
the
no.
money through a grant.
Correct.
Okay, so that would be helpful.
Switching silos.
100%, but it would just be helpful to have that color.
And also, from what you're saying, Mayor, the health costs in the country is impacting us negatively in probably every small town, correct? As you're saying, it went up 30%, it's going to go up another 30 next year?
I think that's an understatement. Yeah.
That's an understatement. Okay. Because that's also something we can all do something about as individual citizens.
Yeah, I mean, the change we made with establishing the health savings account program not only benefited the borough, but it benefited our employees as well.
Yes.
So we don't want anybody paying a dime more than they really need to for something like a benefit or otherwise.
Right.
But, just globally, we're going to have to work with the other taxing authorities on the ability to do more together, because there are duplications of services that perhaps we can consolidate and save money. But, again, this is this whole home rule thing. I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. I'm just saying the fact that if we don't figure out how to constantly do more with less, we're never gonna outgrow ourselves in terms of the expense of people being able to afford to live here.
Yeah, and I want to applaud Ed, because I was here when he brought in suggestions for the new health program for the employees, and I thought you did a terrific job of getting more for less money, but getting more of what they might need health-wise, So thank you for that. And thank you both. This is not an easy task.
Yeah, thank you. I got a question on fees, permits, and fines. I mean, obviously, it's another way to get revenue besides the tax levy. Just wanted a quick commentary. I mean, how are we doing in terms of fees, permits, and fines, especially comparable to other towns?
I'm sorry. So, Councilman Kern, you were talking about right now in 2026?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah. Should we look to maybe increase that in the future, or are we doing all right with regards to our revenue generation for fees, permits?
I mean, again, we're doing pretty well. Echoing to Councilman Kelly that we are going out for banking, that we're reassessing our banking services. So we are waiting to get the proposals back. Again, a lot of fees and permits that has to do with volumes. Building department's very busy. Again, when the summer comes and people usually do their improvement on their houses, we will be able to see a increase on that. But overall, I mean, we're doing pretty well. Our collection rate is still pretty high. So I would say we're pretty good. We're in pretty good shape.
Thank you.
And as we discussed, getting a more lively business district, no more empty stores, getting businesses that are really bringing in revenue, that will help the citizens' tax situation, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, guys.
Just one note, the mayor mentioned our tax assessor. We do have him scheduled, and thanks to David, to our rector, for the reminder, at the Senior Center on the 29th of April at 10 a.m., 10 to 11, so Jim's here. So yes, I know we've had a number of meetings, but we also had a packed house with the seniors there a year ago or so. So it's, and also to discuss, and the deadline, I think, is in the fall, but all the senior tax freeze and anchor and all those kind of savings programs for seniors. So that's going to be, again, on the 29th at 10 a.m. at the Senior Center.
But that's not the reassessment one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
it's a separate program.
Separate, but I think he can speak to many different things, yeah.
I would offer, if any, the department heads who have seen the major cut sheet, most likely for the first time tonight, if there's anything you want to address the council on, or you want to take time to be able to come back at a future meeting and discuss that in greater detail after you've had some time to follow up with Katie and or Ed. I think the most substantial things really was an adjustment on tax appeals, which doesn't affect any of you guys. We spent less, so we're budgeting less. But there certainly are some personnel scenarios that get affected with unfilled positions, right, that have been recommended as part of the budget before you tonight. So personnel, you probably want to have that discussion with Katie and Ed, but any of the other things, if there's something that is being overlooked that is significant to you, that you want to make the case for to us, please feel free to do so.
Mayor, I got one quick question on timeline. After the operational budget, we'll be looking to capital. When would that be around?
I think we could probably talk about those dates at our next meeting, John. I'd like to do as we've done in the last 2 years, which is have the capital follow the operating pretty close, so that we're adopting them in similar timeframes.
Thank you.
Yeah, just if any of the department heads want to come up and talk, just come up to the podium, please, and you have no 5-minute limit.
Mr. Mayor?
Chief, how are you?
Very good. Council, so I appreciate a minute. So, I would, on behalf of the fire department, I would like to get a little more information in terms of what makes up the cut. Obviously, our department, our budget overall is not overly substantial. I suspect, one of the larger areas we had this year for an increase was in the clothing area, right? We had some other nominal increases that were related to equipment maintenance. As these equipment we're buying, costs go up for that, but they were relatively modest and not out of the norm. Vehicle expenses, they normally go up every year. Some of our apparatus is getting older, so I think that's in line. I suspect, the largest increase we had was in the area of clothing. And so one of it was a clothing allowance, right? I've been in the department 25 years. Part of our clothing is a clothing allowance we give to our membership. I don't remember that number really ever changing in the 25 years I've been here. So one of the things we were looking for this year was an increase in the clothing allowance, so as well as an increase in the clothing budget, which is probably a little more of an increase than what we're seeing here as a decrease. And just the one thing I just wanted to kind of give some food for thought for the council to think about, or the committee to think about, is also on the agenda tonight is we have 2 new members that are up in a resolution, right? So the council is aware that we've had a very large recruitment effort, right? We had a recruitment grant that we're still exercising. And, I think our department has had a very good success story compared to neighboring departments. A lot of departments in the county are having a problem getting trucks out on the road. We have the benefit right now of, I believe, about 52 members. We have 2 more coming on tonight. We have a very active recruitment effort. So one of the quid pro quo of bringing on and being very successful in that is we need to be able to outfit the new members, right? So what we're looking at is even as simple as uniforms. So some of these 2 members that are joining that are on the resolution tonight, they're already at the fire academy. When they come out, the uniforms themselves probably cost $600-700 for the uniforms. These are Class Bs, what I'm wearing tonight. These are probably a couple $100 for the uniforms. So we're very active in recruiting. So just wanted to kind of raise that with you. So when we're looking at what our spend was prior, just recognize because we are actively recruiting, our cost for clothing is going to go up. And one of the things that we propose this year is an increase in the clothing allowance as well. Just a little concern that if we reduce it, what we're going to be doing is really diluting. What we're trying to do is bring what has been a very static level allowance that hasn't changed in a long time. It's going to become a much more nominal increase for the average member. So without seeing any details, I just wanted to kind of bring that point up and really just raise that as food for thought.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any further questions or discussion from the council?
Nope.
Okay. Yep. So we've had our budget presentation, our date that we're setting to adopt. The budget is tentatively May 26, 2026. I'd ask for a motion to approve Resolution 26-92, which is the introduction of the 2026 municipal budget, the total amount of $21,278,841.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
Okay, next I'll ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 26-93, authorizing the increase of deferred school taxes for the regional high school and local school tax.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Ms. Sarah?
Yes.
John, do you have
I do.
the ordinance?
All right, Mayor,
Hang
ordinance.
on. Oh, hang on one second. Too many papers. Where the hell is it? Give me 1 second.
Sure.
You gotta be kidding me. No. I'll just pass it over when it's my turn. Go ahead, John.
Mayor, ordinance number 26-07 is ready for first reading.
Will the Borough Clerk read ordinance number 26-07 by title only?
Calendar year 2026 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank under NJSA 48:4-45.14.
Mr. Lurch, can we just have an explanation of what the ordinance does?
Yeah, briefly, what it does, it allows you to, the 1977 law that was passed limited the amount of spending increases, and after, it limits the number of spending increases, and it was really originally at 5%, but now it goes on the general price inflator, so that in order to increase your spending level, it's not a tax levy, just your spending level, up to the maximum allowed by law of 3.5%, you're required to pass this ordinance. Now, let me share with you, doesn't mean we're spending the money, because we're way under the cap, so we're not spending the money. But it's just, again, to give you another tool if, heaven forbid, next year you're faced with some kind of cataclysmic increase, then you'll be able to use that cap to spend it. So it lasts for 3 years. So that's really what you're doing. It's kind of putting it for an emergency day. We're not spending it.
Mayor, I'd like to motion that ordinance number 26-07 be passed on first reading and published in the Monday, April 20th, 2026 edition of the Bergen Record.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Ms. Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is, we're back to the consent agenda. No second chance. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of resolutions 26-94 through 26-101 as amended for 26-101.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Can I make an amendment? It says authorized camp registration. It's the return of his
Refund, yes.
refund. It doesn't
Yep.
say refund.
Right.
Yeah, so this is just the agenda. It doesn't.
Do I have an earlier version or something?
No, it's just a typo on the agenda. The
No
resolution
problem.
reflects
Okay, I just
the
wanted to
correct-
clarify.
yeah, no.
Thanks, Laura. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we had a motion, we had a second, we have a roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Ms. Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
We got 1,001 meetings.